This episode of the Topcast is proudly supported by Piano Marvel.
And I would say probably if I could convey something to a teacher that almost all teachers just cannot get this, I'd say use it in your lesson, not just between the lessons, but use it to teach students to practice without you. Practice with them, show them how to use it, show them how to practice effectively with it. Use it in your lesson instead of trying to just because a lot of times you'll sit there, you'll show them the right hand, and then you'll wait for them to practice and get it in their hands, and then you show them the next step and that. Let them have that interactive part of the lesson in your lesson with the student live. And then when they leave, then they know how to practice and they come back well prepared.
You're listening to the Topcast, the original podcast for growth-minded instrumental music and voice teachers since 2015, with your host, Tim Topham. Our mission at Top Music is to empower instrumental music and voice teachers to find and nurture their innate creativity so that they can teach lessons that are innovative, integrated, and inspiring, and that will have a positive, lifelong impact on their students. Join us each week as we interview teachers and creators from around the world and unpack fun and exciting ideas to maximize your teaching and studio business success. Hi there, everybody. It's Tim again, and welcome back to the Topcast, where we are here to support your music teaching, studio, and business as much as we possibly can. And it's great to be with you again. We're really looking forward to today's episode. Of course, we're right in the middle of our month dedicated to building better practice habits and trying as best we can to solve that perennial challenge that we all have, if not most of the time, it's definitely some of the time, and that is students who just don't seem to practice very much. And today, we're talking about how technology can help students practice. And I don't just mean a practice tracking app, I mean an app that's actually devoted to helping students practice effectively at home. As Aaron says in this interview, let computers do what computers are good at, and let teachers do what teachers are good at. Find out what those two things are in today's show. You'll also hear a refreshingly positive view about the future of music education from the founder of this app, which I think is really useful and helpful to hear at this time, because there can be a lot of doom and gloom about the industry, and especially the lack of funding for teachers in elementary and high schools, and how music programs just seem to be disappearing. So I think you'll agree this is really a breath of fresh air to hear this, and I think you'll get inspired just as I did as I heard it. Aaron and Heidi also have a great offer to share at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. And I'm really excited to let you know as well that Top Music Pro members will get the chance to have a private demo and a Q&A session with the Piano Marvel crew later this month during one of our member meetups. So stay tuned for more to all the members out there. Do you get tired of wasting time and money on sheet music just to find one decent piece your students might really enjoy? What if the perfect new repertoire collection arrived in your inbox every month, handpicked, level appropriate, and ready to teach? Well, that's exactly what you get with Top Music Sheets. Each month, our members get exclusive access to a fresh, themed collection of sheet music from some of the most popular composers in the world, from early elementary to intermediate and beyond. Here's a taste of one of the pieces from this month's collection. Want instant access to the full collection and next month's too? Become a Top Music Pro member today and join thousands of teachers who've stopped wasting money on books they never use. Available on our light plan for just $10 a month. Head to topmusicsheets.com to find out more. So who are my guests today? We've actually got two. Aaron Garner did his undergraduate studies in piano performance and pedagogy, along with composition at Brigham Young University and the University of Southern Colorado. While doing his graduate studies in performance and pedagogy with secondary emphasis in composition at the University of Northern Colorado, he taught class piano where he faced teaching students of differing abilities simultaneously in one classroom. And the difficulties of that task, as you'll hear in today's episode, led Aaron to develop the Piano Marvel software. Piano Marvel was founded in January of 2008, and the very first version of the software was released at MTNA in Atlanta, Georgia in March of 2009. And you'll actually get to hear, we actually start off with some of the founding story of this software, which I think is really interesting, particularly given the time. This is well before iPhones and apps and iPads and all of that kind of stuff. This was really quite revolutionary at the time. And I wonder whether some of you listening might have been around then and teaching and perhaps even at this conference where it was first launched. Our second guest is Heidi Garner, who helped start Piano Marvel with her husband Aaron in 2008. Over the years, Heidi has taken on several positions within the company, and she currently serves as Chief Marketing Officer. You might come across her on social media platforms or at a conference. And furthermore, Heidi is a personal trainer and running coach specialising in fostering behavioural change. She obtained her bachelor's degree in kinesthesiology at the University of Northern Colorado. Heidi and Aaron have 4 children, all of whom play some role in Piano Marvel, and so far 4 grandchildren. Well, welcome, Aaron and Heidi. Great to see you.
Thank you. We're excited to be with you today.
So firstly, huge thank you for being a sponsor of this month of All About Practice on the podcast. So we're talking this month on the blog, podcast, in our magazine, all about practice. And this is a huge challenge for teachers all the time. I remember when I was teaching beginners, it was a challenge. It still is a challenge today. And I love the connection between that topic and also your software, Piano Marvel, which can really be revolutionary when it comes to practice. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. But I was just really interested to have the founder of such notable software here. What was the aha moment that led you to create this at the start?
I think it was when I was doing my doctorate. I was teaching, 17 students at a time. And it was my job to teach all the music ed majors who needed to pass piano proficiency. And the first thing that I valued was sight reading. And I knew the materials we were using were not going to develop good sight readers. It's like they skipped that altogether and they went straight to these more advanced things and chords and scales and arpeggios. And so I went out and I bought a bunch of Alfred and Hal Leonard and Bastian, just different books for the library. And I had students reading them, and I knew they needed to go through a lot of material, stuff that was easy to develop good sight reading. And I wanted it to be fun, but it just wasn't fun.
Not many people connect sight reading with fun, let's be honest.
Yeah, I take it out to them and I'd be like, go read this book, and then come back, and they would either not do it or they just lie about it and say, yeah, I did it. I'm like, wow, there's got to be something more fun and engaging. And so that's kind of when I started looking at just different technologies. I know back in, 2002, somewhere around there, where some of these books were coming up with CDs as backing tracks. And then there was Music Ace had a rhythmic thing where you could press the space bar for rhythm and it'd give you a rhythm score. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool if it could also assess notes and rhythm? It sounds easy, right? Well, and today you would think, it's easy, but you got to remember, this is before any apps were out. Google had just come out recently, and there were no phones, no iPads, none of that was there yet. So it was really before the industry had gone to apps, and this was really hard stuff to do and expensive.
I'm sure. There must have been lots of other people in your position teaching groups of university students how to, the fundamentals of piano, even though they weren't piano majors, I'm assuming, who just put up with whatever was out there. What was different about you? Why did you go, I want to try and fix this?
I don't know. I do remember him saying it was really hard to teach, 17 people in a classroom at different levels. And so part of your dream of Piano Marvel was being able to teach everyone at their own level, being able to at their own pace and walk around and, meet everybody where they're at and help them where they were at.
I do remember clearly that thinking, okay, some of these students are falling behind and they'll never catch up. And some of them are just bored to tears because I can't teach at the pace of the fastest students, and I can't go at the slowest. So I'm like, I'll go toward the 70% range and just expect some to be bored and some to not catch up. But I guess that was kind of one of those things. I'm like, there's got to be a way to let students progress at their own pace so they're not falling behind and they're not bored.
And did you have software development background?
I did not. I was going to be a concert pianist, touring the world, performing. I was in competitions, but to put yourself through school, you had to get a job. And I thought, well, I'll teach piano for now, but then I'll perform.
So you must have early on found someone who could actually. You realized this was going to be software, and so you needed someone who could code.
Yeah, that was actually kind of an interesting story. Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. It was several years later after he had taken a job at an elementary school because, doing your dissertation work doesn't make money. And we had 3 kids and had moved back to my hometown in Rye, Colorado. And there was a job opening for a music teacher at the elementary school. And somebody said, hey, you should apply. And he came home and told me about it. And I said, yeah, you're going to apply. That sounds good. So he did.
So now I'm teaching kindergartners and first through 5th graders.
But
general music.
He loved it. And the kids really loved him. And they actually became the perfect guinea pigs for the software. So once we decided to start looking for somebody to develop the software, because he doesn't code, none of us do. We have a son that does now, but back then he was really little. So we decided to go to a company in Utah, and we asked them about, tried to explain what it was. And
I imagine that would have been hard to describe back then, as you say, because there weren't all these apps and things doing it already.
No, nobody had done it yet.
Yeah, and subscription-based software was it didn't exist. Nobody was doing it yet either. So it was really new concept, but they wanted to do it, and they told us just starting out it would be $600,000.
And that was we'll see if we can do it.
Yeah, that's maybe.
Right, that wasn't even a given.
Right.
Because this is going to be new technology. And back then we were building a browser app. There weren't smartphones. There weren't apps. It was just an application.
There wasn't even a browser. There was no browser.
Yeah, that's true.
It was before browsers.
It was a desktop software.
It was a desktop software. Yeah,
but
built
it was
on Adobe.
Based because it could be updated all the time.
Well, it was built on Adobe.
Right.
Was
Adobe.
it really?
Yeah, which is now gone.
Right. But they told us it was going to be $600,000, and I looked at Aaron and I was like, well, that was a nice dream. But you're a teacher. I'm a personal trainer. You teach piano lessons on the side. How are we going to do this? So as the meeting went on, by the end, Aaron said, all right, well, can you start in January? And this was December. And I looked at him and I was like, what are you going to do? Sell our kids? How are we going to do this? And he just said, we'll come up with the money somehow. So we came home and we have doctor friends and we have teacher friends. And so he just started talking to friends and family, and he had the money by January.
Wow. So you just got friends and family investors in the start. Wow. There you go. I was going to ask, what was the biggest challenge that you faced getting it off the ground? Would it have been that? Or was it actually the complexities of the technology required that hadn't really been built yet?
That's probably is the complexities, and having never done that big of a project. I'd done several other businesses in the past, and I kind of built on those, but made so many mistakes. And when it took about a year, and before the product was ever ready, we had this deadline for the developers. I said, we're going to an MTNA conference and we're going to sell this thing at this conference. So you need to have it ready by that date. Well, come a week before, they didn't have it ready. And we got in on the plane and we flew out there and it still wasn't ready. And so the night before, we called them and we're like, well, we got to sell this thing tomorrow. You got something? And they're like, almost, give us another hour. And so finally, like they said, all right, give it a try. So we turned it on, tried it out, and it kind of worked. So the next day we went to the booth and we're like, hey, we got this great product and it even grades you and it's amazing. And so the teachers there would be like, oh, that's interesting. And then it'd crash. And so Heidi and I had the system where she would distract them while I restarted the computer. So it didn't seem like it was buggy.
It really sounds like a Netflix doco on a tech startup. I was watching one. I'm trying to think what the company was now, and they literally made a fake box. I know yours wasn't fake, but that contained the thing that they needed and managed to get the investment needed. It's crazy what you go through to do these kinds of things. What year was that?
2009. It was March of 2009. We started development January 2008.
Wow. My goodness me. And, just thinking today you've got, companies like Match My Sound and Smart Music and all these ones who are all able to do what you were just developing then. Were you the first to have a sound recognition and understanding engine in software as far as you know?
No, not even close. No, in fact, I think the first ones that I was aware of was
Smart Music.
Smart Music. Yeah. They'd come up with a similar idea, but not for piano. And in fact, I approached them and I said, hey, we've got this great idea for piano. And you guys have developed some technologies that would be useful for it. And we think we should partner. And they just flat out turned us down. I said, there is no market for piano. We cannot reach piano teachers. And so I got really mad. And that's when we went looking.
Right. There you go.
I'm like, there is a market. Piano's my world. Heidi has a fun story about like what was like some of the hardest things wasn't really even building the app or coming up with the money.
Yeah, it was more honestly that teachers, we would
convincing teachers
be at
value.
Conferences, yeah, and we would be back then. We would stand out front and we'd try to lure people in. We've changed now we just are very casual. We just stand there when people show up. They're usually watching somebody take a sight reading test, and you don't really have to say much. Then they start asking questions, But back then we were kind of trying to lure people in and talk to them because people didn't know what you're doing. Technology was very absent in the world of piano teaching back then. But teachers would walk past us and they would say, I'm a serious piano teacher. I don't use technology.
Oh, wow. And they would
walk past, yeah. And that was in 2009.
Turn up their nose, be like, I would never touch technology.
Yeah. So it was a very, very hard sell in the beginning. And we had a couple early adopters, and some of them were even traditional older piano teachers that were willing to try it. And we still talk to them and have a strong relationship with them today because they gave it a try when nobody else would, So they're amazing. They're very important to us. But
we saw it evolve over time.
Yeah, I would say over probably 5 or 10 years, more of them were coming around to technology. It was a little bit easier to talk to people about it. You still had a lot of, especially older piano teachers that just said, I'm not into technology. I'm not doing that.
But instead of turning up their noses now, they kind of got this exasperated look on their face, like it's just overwhelming. I hate that the world's going this way. I know I need to get into technology.
Yeah.
Better tell me about it. But they were excited about it. They were like exasperated, like, why do I have to learn this thing?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest turning point though was COVID, because everybody had to learn how to use Zoom, had to, use either if they were taking classes or still they wanted to teach students still, then they had to figure that out and they had to embrace technology. Even though there was probably 2 years we didn't have conferences, we didn't really get to see people in person. When we came back from that, they had
learned how to use their computers,
and they were.
It was awesome.
Technology. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Something positive coming out of that period of time.
Yeah.
Good to hear. So let's talk about the actual software. How would you describe Piano Marvel to a piano teacher who's never used much technology in their teaching?
Honestly, that's changed in the last 4 years, 3 years, 2 years now. We don't have to really much anymore because almost everybody finds it pretty easy now to use and intuitive, just to use their computers and just plug it in. And it's not a hard thing to discuss to teachers anymore. I would say the biggest thing is you can't explain what salt tastes like to somebody who's never tasted salt. And so we could not explain to teachers what Piano Marvel does without them actually experiencing it and watching a student interact with it. That's when you're like, oh, now I get it. And so we were trying to use all these words and we'd explain it to death, like, but it never worked until they could actually see it in action. And then it was like very clear to them.
Well, given that we can't demonstrate visually today, for those teachers listening, what's your best short pitch about what it is or does?
This is a loaded question because we don't even tell people anymore. I know, like we used to when teachers would come up to our booth, they'd be like, "Tell me about this. Like, tell me what it does." And I'm like, "All right." And we started with this and that and this and that, and we go through that. And by the end of it, they're like, "Whoa!" And we're like, "We're not done. And there's still more." It does so much more than that.
And since then, it does way more
Yeah.
now than it did back then. So, yeah. So I would say when I'm selling it to a teacher, if I can't show it to them, say they want to just hear about it. The other, we have 2 pianos in our booth usually. Maybe we have people trying it out and they want to try it out, but they're waiting their turn. So they just want to have a conversation. And so they'll ask, what is it? And I try to help them to see that it's more of a teaching assistant. And Aaron says this all the time. You let the teacher do you let the computer do what it's good at, and you let the teacher do what they're good at. So the computer is really good at helping them learn the notes and learn the rhythms. And then the teacher helps them, once they have the song in their hands, helps them to work on technique and dynamics and make it musical. And it frees up their time so they can teach more students at a time, work one-on-one with the students who are ready to make a song musical while the others are still learning their songs. So
in a nutshell, basically, you let computers do what they're good at, which is repetition and getting the right notes, the right rhythms. And then you let the teachers do what they're good at, which is artistry.
Yeah. I remember distinctly when we tried it out together with one of my students years ago, Aaron, the benefit to me was, yes, it would help greatly with the practice, making sure the student does practice, is incentivized to practice, but also practices the right way and the right notes and the right rhythms. So they're not practicing something the wrong way for a week before you get them back in your studio to correct it.
And then having to correct that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And the system that you've built, and I'm sure it's changed drastically since I used it a number of years ago, but it was able to solve that problem of just the practice intent and success at home for a student. So that, as you've said, during the lesson, you're not correcting things. You're not focused solely on, okay, let's go through every single one of these notes. You can focus on the musicality, the artistry, as you say. So, yeah, I've totally seen that in action.
And I would say probably if I could convey something to a teacher that almost all teachers just cannot get this, I'd say use it in your lesson, not just like between the lessons, but use it to teach students to practice without you. Practice with them. Show them how to use it. Show them how to practice effectively with it. Use it in your lesson instead of trying to just because a lot of times you'll sit there, you'll show them the right hand, and then you'll wait for them to practice and get it in their hands, and then you show them the next step, and that let them have that interactive part of the lesson in your lesson with the student live. And then when they leave, then they know how to practice and they come back well prepared, like really well prepared to learn the artistry. And then you use it again to practice with it in their lesson, get them a new song. And I ask people a lot of times, teachers, I was like, so you had not tried this before, you're a little skeptical. When they started learning a repertoire piece, would you say they learn it faster now with the interactive assessment? And they said, oh, yes, huge. And I said, I would say about 4 to 5 times faster. And almost always they're like more like 8 to 10 times faster. They'd learn their piece. And it's true. So the biggest problem that I found with teaching is I had to change my teaching strategy around the vast amounts of content that they learn. They're learning like 6 times more music. And so I wasn't prepared to give them songs so quickly. And I'm having to go look for more, these great pieces, teaching pieces that students like. And so that was like one of the shocking things for me, even though I had developed it. Interesting story. I had a third grader, and I had planned, like, this third grader, when he was in 5th grade, I was going to give him this arabesque piece, the by Bergmuller. But he found it in the software in 3rd grade, and he went home and in 7 days had learned all the steps in our practice mode. So you go through, the first right hand, you'll practice, the learn mode. You practice the right hand, then the left hand, and then you put that first phrase together, and then you go to the next part, slow, medium, fast. Well, it's just like, there's like 40 steps as they go through there. And by the time he came to the lesson, he had all of them done, and all of them were gold, not perfect. They weren't hundreds, but they were all gold. And I got mad at him. I'm like, you're not ready for this song. But this is really interesting because I've never seen anybody do this without me giving them permission to. And so I'm like, just by curiosity, let me hear you play it. And so he played through the entire song, 3rd grade. I'm like, I have been wasting my breath. I couldn't believe, and my wheels started turning, like, I wonder if this could be replicated with other students and just show them how to do it, send them home, practice it, and to see how far they get. But that lesson that I had with them that day, I started playing the phrasing of it. I'm like, let me hear that first part again, do with that left hand, and it was staccato. Or he was not doing it staccato. He sounded more kind of like a computer, like some people would be afraid of. Like, yeah, they're going to sound like a computer. But within like 5 minutes, he had taken like all of my, do it staccato, pull a phrase like crescendo, let's accelerando in this part, ritardando on this part. And I could not believe how quickly he was picking up on like the artistry. And so I thought, wow, this is the difference between like letting the computer do the hard stuff and having me have time to teach the artistry. Just picked it up so fast. I'm like, wow, there's really something to this. It shocked me, even though I built it. I didn't build it, but I had it built.
I wonder, I know that some teachers do worry about software replacing them and kids quitting lessons. I had a teacher in our membership. No, she was at a workshop that I spoke at recently who said she'd lost one student and they just outright told her that they're just using Simply Piano instead. Terribly sad, right? And frustrating for a teacher who's been helping a student for a while. Is this app going to take over teaching?
Absolutely not. It cannot take over teaching. It's physically impossible to get rid of a teacher unless the teacher's just doing what the computer does. I mean, if that's all the teacher's doing, like, I'm helping you learn a song here and there, but if a teacher really does so much more than just spoon feeding notes to a student, they motivate them, they guide them, they analyze if they're going on the right track, they help them with their posture, they're a friend. It's kind of like this. Have you ever seen self-help books? Well, guess what? They've created those in music. Johnson, what was it? The Thompson books way back in the day. Those are basically self-help books. Learn piano on your own. You can get this book and it'll have all the lessons in it and you can just go through them. And guess what? It didn't get rid of the teacher. they still use the teacher, because without the teacher, they just stop dead. And, you lose something.
Learning an instrument's hard. And I think you need that professional motivator, to help you keep up with it. And for them to know what songs are going to motivate a student is a talent and a gift. And when you don't have that, it's really hard to go search for songs that, unless somebody's only interested in playing the songs they hear on the radio that they like to sing to, then they're probably not super interested in music literacy at that point. They just want to learn a few fun songs. But if they're a student who's interested in learning how to read and really wants to be able to play whatever is put in front of them, they need a teacher.
Yeah. In fact, I think we need more teachers.
Yeah.
I see this propelling a new age in music. So right now we have what? If you have a high school with 100 kids in it, there's like 1 or 2 kids that play the piano in a lot of communities. That's really sad. I can see that this technology, making it more available, will draw more interest in the communities to play piano. And we're going to need more piano teachers. I see an era where we have 50% and even more of the students learning music. And we're going to need a lot more music teachers to handle that influx. It's a cool time to live in this industry right now, when technology is about to help explode this industry. And I feel very strongly about piano and the value of it that it adds to people. I had this experience in middle school. My kids were in middle school, Miley, and she had this, what was this? Not a reception. It was like an award ceremony. And they were going to award her for getting straight A's. And so they had all the students start lining up. Like, here are all the straight A students. They got the grades, and like, I don't know, the 50 kids in the class, and like 14 of them had straight A's, and like 10 of the 14 are my students. Like every single one of my students were in the line. I'm like, wow, either piano really makes you smart, or only the smartest kids figure out how to play piano. So I don't know. Or they're drawn to it. But I honestly feel like piano makes you smart. It's called a lot of people call it the genius instrument, because it's so complex and problem solving. It makes math easier. It makes science easier. It makes everything easier and anything hard. So it hits the part of the brain that is so valuable. In fact, there are like medical professions that seek out new medical people coming into the field. And one of their highest sought after things is musicianship. How do
I heard
they
this
know
recently.
an instrument? Yes. And it's true, because it teaches them to work. It teaches them to focus. It teaches them how to concentrate, do hard things. It's something in the amygdala section. Is that how you say that? Of the brain?
Amygdala.
Amygdala, yes. That section of the brain, which is kind of I guess, the language learning center of that brain. But music even impacts it even deeper than that. So I feel like our society will pick up music, and it will change. It will benefit mankind. And I feel like we need teachers who are innovators and who are exciting, and they know how to use the technology and leverage that correctly. Because right now, students are getting bombarded by other cool technologies, and they expect it like this instant feedback, instant approval. And if musicians and teachers don't know how to leverage that, they're going to lose their students. So that's what we need, some more teachers who are experimenting and knowing how to engage students in this new learning style.
Yeah, and I know you have a huge following of piano teachers that support each other and teach each other. And we have that in Piano Marvel as well. We have teacher discussions that happen on Tuesdays, and teachers come, it's a Zoom call, and they record it and they put it out there on Facebook for those who can't be there, in person on the Zoom call. So everyone can watch it later. But they just have this camaraderie. And we also, every single summer in June, we do a Piano Marvel teacher conference, and we have a lot of those teachers come in person and some come virtually. But it's a teaching community, and they help each other to learn how to use the software in the most effective ways, especially when we have new features that come out, like group play that's just recently come out. So they're practicing that together, and then they go out and try it with their students. So.
Piano Marvel is the ultimate teaching companion for modern piano educators. Whether you're teaching in person, online, or in hybrid settings, Piano Marvel makes it easy to engage students, track their progress, and accelerate learning. Just connect a digital piano via USB or MIDI to a laptop, tablet, or smartphone to unlock interactive lessons, instant feedback, and over 30,000 songs and exercises. No MIDI? No problem. Students can still get feedback using just their acoustic piano or keyboard and Piano Marvel's microphone assessment tool, ideal for beginners. Save time with easy to assign pieces, progress tracking, and built-in sight reading assessments using the unique SASR test. Students stay motivated with fun challenges, clear goals, and an enormous library of music they'll love. And try out the new group play feature designed for teaching group lessons and playing ensembles in perfect time. Engage your students, maximize your teaching, revolutionize your studio with Piano Marvel. To learn more, visit pianomarvel.com. Well, I've got to rewind just a little bit and commend you on a refreshingly positive view of the future of music education, because there's a lot of doom and gloom out there about the decline in hiring teachers into school, music teachers into schools and specialty music classes. So it was really nice to hear that. And I really hope that we can all be a part of it, and that I hope it eventuates.
It's going to take all of us to do it. Like you can't work one and two people at a time. It's got to be an entire industry working together to do it, but it's going to happen.
I want to pick up on one of the other things you said, which was that, yes, kids have TikTok and their phones and tech and all this tech, and it's all 15 seconds, this and blah, blah, blah. One of the things that your software does incredibly well is the gamification and the feedback. It's responsive to what students are doing. Could you just give a quick overview of that? Because sometimes if you use the word gamification, teachers can switch off and think, oh, this is just about play and fun time. But no, this is about it just because we want to motivate them. Like that grade 3 student that you said you had, he or she went through and did all of this themselves, but they probably wouldn't have done that if it was turning pages in a book. It's about the software and how it reacts to you, right?
It is a very different, like we're not building Netflix or YouTube or a video game that people will go to for entertainment. It is education. And anytime you go into education, it's going to be, it could be real fancy and catch their attention. But then as soon as they find out it's actually work, then people's first intuition is like, I'm lazy. It's too much work. And so what is interesting is you have to take this educational tool and make it as engaging as possible. But in the end, it's all about the music they learn. They can be like, you can draw them in with this game and this game and this prize or whatever. And it does make it exciting. But in the end, it has to be about what music they've learned and what they can play. That skill that they picked up, that is the true reward, is feeling that accomplishment of a skill that you've learned. But there are a lot of things that we don't utilize that will help us learn. Like we've done a lot of research with learning, and their attention it comes in these little waves of, if you study for a super long time, you forget almost everything in this little curve here. You remember just one little snippet in this 2 hours. But if you break it up into smaller sections, they found that it works really well with retention. And so inside of the software, we've built in these little pedagogical tools that nobody even realizes that's happening. And then we also engage them with challenges that give them little spurts of energy that help them retain what they're learning. And so it's really cool that we've taken the pedagogy And that is the highest priority in the software. It's not necessarily the gaming. We use all that as part of pedagogy to make them learn better. And it's a constant, you try stuff out, you watch. Heidi got somebody at the NCKP we went to, and we had somebody who just finished their doctorate, and they got a job at a college, and he was taking the SASR. And he was getting up there into the hard levels, and people start gathering around watching this, and it's getting intense. And he's playing through this 30-second excerpt or 45-second excerpt, and he barely passed it, and he's like sweating, and people are cheering, and he's laughing, and he's like, I just did it. I did it. I can't believe I passed that one. And it's just fun to watch, like, how engaged people are, and even at this like super high level. So it could be little kids where they're playing like the middle C song, and they pass it, and they get their 100%, and they're jumping out of their seat. Or these doctoral students who are like, I've just read through this Albanese piece that was transposed into a different key. I can't believe I did it, type of thing.
Yeah, I've witnessed that at conferences as well. You do attract a great crowd because it is competitive, and I've vowed never to take your test again. Because I thought I should score much higher than I did. I remember. What's one feature of Piano Marvel that you think most teachers don't know about but should be using?
The one we're hiding.
Ooh, what's the one you're hiding?
So we hide this one, and I'll tell you this, the SASR, right? It becomes...
Wait, we should explain what SASR is for people who are listening.
SASR is the standard assessment of sight reading, and it is a test. It's a gamified kind of test where it gives you a piece of music to sight read. If you read it well, it gives you a harder one, and there's this algorithm built to identify how well you read music, and it finds music at your level and then pushes you a little harder. And if you can read that level, it gives you a sight reading score. And then we track that sight reading score over time. Every time you take that test, it'll show your progress and how much better you're getting at reading music. And so this is called the standard assessment of sight reading. My sight reading score is 10. Don't laugh. It's 1084.
You'll have to explain whether that's good or bad for...
There's a little grade at the beginning. It's like if you're a beginning student, you're like at 158. If you're intermediate, it's like 320 or 465, I think. And then advanced, you're like 580.
You're at 10. You're at 1,000, over 1,000.
I'm at 1,000, but master student is more like 1140. And I had studied several years with my doctorate, and their score is like in the 1400s. Mine is so far below that, but that's because of my background. Like, I never had a good background of sight reading. And so my goal is to hit 1158, I think, get it into that next tier by the end of this year. And I'm going to do it. But then you have the 1600s for those who are just, they're prodigies.
Crazy.
They just read well. 16 something. Well, 1800, we had a kid, these doctoral professors who were just geniuses would come in and read in the 1800s and setting the world records. We had a Korean pianist who came in and held the record for a long time. And then Dr. So-and-so come in and took the record from him by a few points. And then another doctoral student had taken the record. And then another doctoral professor took the record again. And then one day, we're sitting at this conference, and this goofy kid gets up and he starts the test. And we're like, all right, we'll let this kid go. And so he starts reading, and then he gets into like the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. This kid set the world record.
He was a sophomore in high school.
It was the goofiest kid I've ever seen reading. And he was just kind of laughing at the sheet music, like there were jokes in there that other people didn't see.
And he had his face like he was.
His face was super close. Yeah, he had this weird technique. I'm like, this guy is a savant. Like, brains don't work like this, and fingers connected. It was the coolest thing to watch. And there's like 30 people surrounded with their jaw dropped. Like, how is he doing this?
Wait, is that the feature, or is...
That was the thing that we stopped showing everything else, really. We said, you know what, you'll learn everything as you get into it. Just use the SASR, because they could see that. They're like, oh, I get it. That's an easy thing to get, easy to implement. You don't really have to learn much. And then you'll discover the rest as you go. There's dozens of really cool things. And the SASR is not even close to the coolest thing in the software.
So what is that?
I was going to say, what is the coolest according to the founder?
Honestly, the coolest thing, I'm not hiding this, but the coolest thing in the software is honestly learning your repertoire pieces in the learn mode. And inside that learn mode, we have like step by step, you can turn on like an auto advanced mode, and it will just kind of automatically take you along. You don't have to touch anything. It's like takes you to the first section. You learn your right hand in this part, then you learn your left hand, and you first do it without rhythm, and then you do it with the rhythm, and that's really cool. But we don't even show that. You know, we've been showing recently, the last 2 conferences we did was a new technology we built called group play.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, tell us. So this is for group piano teachers, I assume, specifically?
It's built for a very specific genre, I guess, atmosphere. And it's to sync up 2 computers at the same time, or 100 computers at the same time, people playing together. It's like ensemble playing. And the technology behind it is basically such that they don't have to be connected together. We built this technology where if the host will start a meeting, it's kind of like Zoom. They start a meeting and they give a code to the students. They type in the code and then you join the session. And the host chooses a song and they play along. And everybody plays in sync. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It syncs every device, whether it's a phone, a computer, a tablet, a Chromebook. It syncs it together at the exact same time playing. So you imagine if you're in a big hall and you've got all these computers playing at the same time, it has to be like super synced, or if in a classroom. And so they play and then they get to the end of it and it'll give you a score. And so everybody's score can pop up on the leaderboard and you can see who won.
Right. Okay.
It is so it's like voodoo. Like, I don't know how they did this. It's wizardry.
You just told them, this is what I want, make it happen. We have amazing.
And they figured it out. But we have 17 full-time developers and some really, really
17 full-time developers.
Yeah. So they're constantly working on new technology that we dream up with the pedagogical team and teachers who are asking for new features. I'll give you an example of a teacher. Teachers have been asking, can you have a streak saver? Because we have a streak and some people have like 4 years without missing a single day. But you know how, what is that program that has
Duolingo?
Duolingo has like a screensaver or a streak saver. If you miss a day, you can save it. So they're asking if we would develop that. And we're like, I don't know, because we kind of like that people who are like legit 6 years, like you didn't use a streak saver. You got so many days in a row without missing.
Although you have to admit, we have a few that have had years.
Internet problems.
They'll email in and we have the developers go ahead and, give them back their streak because it was an internet problem or something. They just could not keep their streak that day. So
other people have asked, can we write music notes on the page? Can we change finger numbers? So we are working on those features. And so you can share these notes with students and be able to perform with notes on the page, and like you circle a forte mark or scribble in retardando or whatever.
I was going to ask you what was on the roadmap, so you've answered that question.
So yeah,
lots of things.
Those are we have like 150 of those things that are in development right now and on the list.
And then all of the departments, I'm over marketing. We have the things that we want them to develop to help us in marketing. So that list gets longer and longer, and we have to prioritize it all the time. So,
but we don't tell people about group play. So there are teachers that know about it, and we hide it in a menu called Preferences. So if you go up to the top menu on the right side under your name, you click on that and you go to Preferences, And in the preferences, you'll see group play. You turn that on, and then you can use it.
All right. We won't tell anyone. Brilliant.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. No, but we're developing content for monster concerts right now. It is going to be so cool. You get together with friends. We're going to do a concert at a piano store.
Dane's Music.
With 24 pianos. We're going to invite piano teachers to come to this and perform live in this group concert. We'll give them the music ahead of time, and we'll just have the music show up on one of their screens. And imagine like just performing in this 24 piano ensemble, like an orchestra of pianos. How cool that is. It's so much fun. And we have tools now that we can use ritardando and accelerandos and musical things that we've never been able to do before, and real backing tracks, and people can upload their own music to it. So any song in the world, you can upload your song to it, and you can use real audio now with tempo mapping. So you have I guess like an accelerando or a ritardando or things that just make it more fun and more real. And so this is why we have so many developers, because we have so many cool things like that we're building right now. It's getting really exciting.
It sounds very, very cool. And you've got an enormous library of method books and your own music, Aaron. I know you're a composer, lots of your music in there. So as well as all of that, and that would be enough for lifetime's worth for most teachers, you can even, as you've said, upload your own as well.
Yeah, we have about 50,000 pieces right now, but we have maybe 40,000 of those are in the public domain, and then we have contracts with Hal Leonard and to do pop songs, and Alfred and FJH and some other publishers. We pick up publishers all the time, just adding more and more. We want to include basically so you can get any song in the world and use it.
Yeah, we actually hear people say, and I won't say which piano apps, but they'll say, I finished this piano app, so now I'm doing Piano Marvel, because you can never finish Piano Marvel. There's just so much content.
It's a teacher's tool.
Yeah.
And well, I guess as we wrap things up, we should ask, what tech do teachers need to use it?
Well, that's where we finally got it on computers, both Mac and Windows. That was the first thing we started with, because there was no such thing as an iPhone or iPad. When we did it on iPad next, and we did it on iPhone, and then we did it on Chromebooks, and finally we have it this year on Android. So it's on basically everything but a Fire Kindle.
I don't think that really matters somehow. Big question, Aaron. Do you need a digital piano to make the software work?
Short answer is no. But let me explain to teachers so that they don't get any misconception about this. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, we have already introduced our microphone assessment. Now that is the microphone on the device will pick it up, and it will convert it to a MIDI, unlike some other technologies, so that it's way better, because you can give some red note, green note feedback. But it is a very expensive technology. We've spent about $1.5 million building this, because we wanted it to build it on top of what's called machine learning and AI technology that will allow it to improve over time. So, and it will improve just because of the logarithm, or not the logarithms, the algorithms that we built in with using AI and machine learning. So as it listens to more and more pianos, it actually improves itself over time. So currently on the iOS devices, you can do very well on songs that have one single note. It will do very well with 2 notes at a time. When you get into 3 notes, it gets a little bit temperamental currently. It will get better. And then 4 notes, it misses quite a bit. So for those beginning pianists, it'll work just fine. But if, like for us, we do a lot of like professional classes and lessons, and And some of these students are very advanced. And so we highly recommend that they either plug into a digital piano, which is super easy, or they get a piano scan. That's a QRS thing. And it's just I have two of them on my grand pianos. I have two pianos with it in there, I should say. And it's just a set of laser lights that you put underneath the keys. And it basically allows you to have the best of both worlds. You get the MIDI signals going through both either Bluetooth, so it's wireless, or you can plug it into your device, your phone or your computer, and it gives you perfect feedback. And you can press all 61 keys at a time, or the whole 88 keys. That is what I recommend, is use it either on a digital piano or plug it in, get the best that you can. Obviously, some people, they don't know if they're going to like it, and so they just start it with a microphone, and it does well for a while, but it's a professional app, so I recommend plugging it in. It doesn't have the microphone assessment on computers yet, but we are underway. It's almost built. It doesn't have it for Android. That is underway. It's almost finished. So that's coming, and a lot of people have been using it. Actually, right now it's about 10% of our users are now using just the microphone. But I still recommend plugging it in. Like, they're in a professional world. I understand some of their students some of the younger ones will want to just use it on their microphone. But there's so many benefits to plugging in.
Well, and let's be honest, the digital piano world is exploding as far as I know. So I think it's only going to become more common for both teachers and students to have that functionality. And therefore, that's probably going to be better anyway. So, look, I thought we should find out, given you've given us all these secret tips and inside scoops, what about any special offers you might have for listeners?
So we have our back to school sale that just started.
We timed this specifically for the podcast. For your podcast.
Love that.
Yeah, and we've never actually offered what we're offering which is an annual premium subscription at 15% off plus an extra month, so 13 months for 15% off of an annual account. So, and I emailed you the link. So
yeah, we'll pop that on our show notes page for today's episode, so they can grab that.
For teachers who've never seen the fundamentals book that we've created, that is also being given away
that's right.
With the sale, the PDF version of this fundamentals book. And the fundamentals book it's phenomenal, like for beginner students getting like really good technique, playing some really fun songs. Like, you can get a brand new student to get in and learn a recital piece in like 3 days. But with some of these pieces that are meant to be learned by rote, but teach high quality technique that are catchy tunes and fun, where the teacher does have to play the background accompaniment with the student, or get another student to play it. And all of those are included in this PDF that's included in the offer.
Fantastic. All right. We'll send everyone your way. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where should people go to find out more about the software?
pianomarvel.com. But if you want to just go to our store, it's store.pianomarvel.com.
We can put the long link in the show notes if anyone's listening as well. Fantastic. It has been so great to catch up with you, Aaron, and to meet you finally, Heidi. And again, thanks so much for supporting the show, and look forward to seeing you at another conference in the future.
Definitely.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned during today's show, I tested this software some time ago with one of my students, and it was a student who really was one of those kids who didn't really do much practice, loved music, was very musical, but didn't really make much progress week to week. And he absolutely lit up at this software, and we actually used it in the lesson, and we actually had Aaron help. It was very, very cool. I've got pictures of it somewhere. I can still picture the lesson. He just flew along when he started using this at home in his practice. And as Aaron said, it really allowed me to focus on doing the teaching that I should be doing. And it allowed the computer to focus on the thing that it does best, which is motivating and, well, not necessarily motivating, but certainly encouraging and enabling that practice and checking of, things like note reading and rhythm accuracy, those kinds of things. They're all things that the computer can do really, really well. And it gave me time to motivate him, choose other repertoire, do composing on the side, all of those kinds of things. So I really do recommend you check it out. Definitely take up their offer, trial it out, see what you think. Try the SASR, the SASR test. Hopefully you'll do better than I did. I can't actually remember my score, I'm afraid, although that's probably on purpose. My mind has forgotten it. Anyway, definitely check them out if you do go to a conference as well. They have an amazing booth and it's always surrounded by lots of people cheering on those people doing the test. So I do hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and thanks again to Heidi and Aaron for being a part of it. That's the end of the show for this week. Next week on the podcast, we've got ABR, Annabeth Rucker, who is actually just about to head over to the NCKP conference. If you've been there, you've actually already seen her booth set up. She is the founder of Piano Method Navigator, some online software to help you actually navigate all those piano methods in the world. Pretty epic task, and you can find out all about how she put it together and what she's creating on next week's show. I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Topcast. Speak to you next time. How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.